Now we have to look at a frequency diagram. We're looking at an FFT of one single note of an instrument, and we don't know what the instrument is, but possibilities could be a tube open on both sides, or it could be a tube open on just one side, a tube totally closed on both sides, or maybe it's just a stringed instrument. So what I'd want to do is identify the fundamental here. In this diagram, this is the fundamental frequency. It's the lowest peak, the leftmost peak. So that's the 133 hertz. Now we're supposed to divide the other harmonics by the fundamental. If I divide 133 by himself, you just get 1. But now I'll divide the 398, which is this peak here, divide him by the fundamental. .99. Okay, now we'll divide the next harmonic, 666, divide him by the fundamental. .01, and finally divide the 937 by 133. And now we have the ratios that the harmonics are making with the fundamental. 7.05. Clearly these are not the integers 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're looking at the odds being present. 1, 3, 5, and 7 odd harmonics, they're called. So there's only a certain type of instrument that would make odd harmonics. What type of instrument is it that makes odd harmonics? Yes, exactly. Right, so with a tube open on both sides, you can have a node for pressure at the opening and at the other opening. And so you're allowed to have a single football as your wave when you have a tube that's open on both ends. You can have a pressure antinode in the middle. So what that means is the particles are allowed to compress here, but they have to be at atmospheric pressure on the ends because it's in contact with the atmosphere. You're also allowed to have 2 footballs. And so what that would look like is this. And so here you have a node in the middle and an antinode here, so you can have like high pressure at 2 locations as long as you have normal pressure in the middle and at the ends. So what this shows, even if we do 3 footballs, you can have any number of integer footballs inside an open tube is the point. And so he doesn't make odd harmonics, he makes both odd and even harmonics. So we see, say first harmonic, second, and third, and so on. So you see integers with the open tube. But if we close it off so that there's like a cap on the end, Now the type of footballs that we can get are only certain types. You have to have a pressure node at the opening, but you have to have an anti-node at the end. So that means that you're allowed to have this type of football and this type of football and this type, and so this only makes odd harmonics. So you'll get a frequency of F and a frequency of 3F and 5F and so on. Okay, so the answer to this was a tube open on one side, closed on the other. And a plucked string, of course, has a potential of having an antinode in the middle. You could have this kind of football with a string. You can also have this kind where we have 2 footballs. And you could have 3 footballs. We saw that in the one lab. When we did standing waves, you actually looked at the physical footballs. So if you have a frequency of F, where there's a node at the bridge and the other bridge, you just have to make sure that you always have a node at the bridge, and that's the only condition that has to be met. So we would get frequencies of F, 2F, and 3F, and so on. So this is all harmonics, not just odd. They're integer multiples of F. And the open tube shows all integer multiples as well. The only one that has odd only is the half open tube. No, you wouldn't select string because he shows more than the odd harmonics. If it was a string, what would end up happening is that in addition to the fundamental frequency, you would also have a peak here, and you would also have a peak there, and so on. Yeah. Okay, cool. Now, let's try this one. Just divide your 589 over your 300. $1.96. 2.95. 3.94. Here we're seeing a different situation. These numbers are close to the integers of 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is showing all integer multiples of harmonics being present. So this is not a half-open tube. What could it be? Exactly. It is either an open tube or a plucked string.